brings us to the most awaited segment of the evening, that is the panel discussion that shall be held upon the topic of enhancing citizen services. Ladies and gentlemen, to take the stage on from here, I would like to invite upon the moderator for the panel discussion. I invite upon Dr. Jayjeet Bhattacharya, Director, Government Affairs, HP India. A very good evening, Dr. Bhattacharya, and welcome. On that note, we like to invite upon the panelists for our panel discussion. We call upon Mr. Prakash Kumar, Director, Public Service, IBSG Cisco Systems. Good evening, sir. Everyone, let's join our hands together to welcome
next panelist that we have is Mr. Sunil Verma, who's the Deputy Controller and Auditor General of Government of India. Mr. Sunil Verma. The next panelist we have is Mr. Balaji Rao, Regional Sales Manager, VMware. Mr. Rao. I'd like to invite Mr. Sameer Chaudhary, DGM IT of Power Grid Corporation, to join us in the panel, please. Mr. Chaudhary. And the last panelist is Mr. Nitin Garg, General Manager, Government Verticals, Lenovo. So my first action as the chairman of this panel is to abdicate the chairmanship, and the rationale being that I need to leave for a call that I have in some time, and therefore I would request my colleague and good friend and also the ex-IT Secretary of Delhi, Mr. Prakash Kumar, to take over the chairmanship. So with your permission, if I could hand you back the mic.
Thank you, Jayjeet. It's call of duty, so we can't say anything. And keeping in view the delay we have already seen here, it's already 5 minutes to 9. We are 6 of us here, apart from the chairman. So I'll request all of us to speak for 2 to 3 minutes on this subject, and so that we have some time for Q&A. And since Jayjeet has to leave early, I'll request him to put before us his viewpoints.
Thank you, Mr. Prakash. So with your permission, if I can use the presentation outputs.
Are you still with the government of Delhi? Oh, good.
Stick to the 2 to 3 minutes that's been given by the chairperson, but I'll try to do that. Taking the cue off from what Mr. Shankar Prasad said at the beginning of this session, that how can we have inclusiveness being driven by all the initiatives that we're doing in e-governance. Therefore, how do we deliver services which then leads to inclusiveness? And therefore, the question therefore begs to be answered is, what is inclusiveness? What is inclusive growth? You can see some statistics over there. For the sake of time, I will not go through the statistics. Essentially, India is a very poor country. India has the most number of poor people in the world. And with that, if you move forward, that leads to exclusion. And there are various sources of exclusion: poverty, gender, caste. In fact, Mr. Shankar Agarwal did talk about gender, did talk about caste, education and literacy, health, disability, access to judiciary, access to financial institutions, access to administration. If you excluded, and if somebody is buying you an air ticket, you still can't fly because you don't have access to identity. So there are many exclusions that are happening. And if you look at the Millennium Development Goals, they are a well-defined set of goals which lead to bridging this exclusion divide. So in order to give focus to the task of poverty reduction, the UN has defined 8 Millennium Development Goals to be achieved by 2015, which includes eradicate extreme poverty and hunger, universal primary education, gender equality and empower women, reduce child mortality, improve maternal health, combat HIV, malaria and other diseases, ensure environmental sustainability, develop a global partnership for development. So having said that, where does IT fit in? And so what services can actually help in achieving the Millennium Development Goals that we're talking about? There are various services that can be provided. If you look at citizen services for poverty reduction, which is the first Millennium Development Goal, there can be market linkages that have been given, price information, access to credit and insurance, skill development through e-learning, and so on and so forth. Once you have a focus on what the core issue is, it's much easier to then define what services we need in order to have an inclusive development. Then the whole issue of citizen services for universal primary education. We all know what the issues are. We all know the issues of dropouts happening, of especially the girl child dropping out by the time they reach a certain age, of tracking of education, of teacher absenteeism, and so on and so forth. Can we have systems and processes and e-governance services which addresses these issues? If you had attended the afternoon session of this particular conference, you would have seen the concept of Tatkal Kaksha, where within a container you can build in a satellite service which can then provide an instant classroom, monitor the teachers, make sure there's no teacher absenteeism, make sure students don't drop out. So in 30 days, if a student is not coming to a class, sitting in Delhi or sitting in the state capital, you can automatically print out a letter under the name of the chief minister to the parent of the child saying, why is the child not coming? Rather than waiting for 3 years to then make the child into a statistics of children who have dropped out and who can never be brought back into the system. Service delivery for gender equality and empowering women. And rural e-governance is a classic example of how gender divide has been bridged, how women have been empowered, how it has been shown that IT and skills can actually be a means for providing livelihood and not just plain brown power. And there are examples in Sitapur, there are examples in the back of beyond, in Araku Valley, and I can take many, many such case studies which showed that gender gap has been bridged because of e-governance. Then we have the issue of child mortality. Again, all of us know our child mortality rates are higher than sub-Saharan Africa. What are the systems and services that we can provide to reduce child mortality? And you can look at the statistics. As I said, we are worse than sub-Saharan Africa. And therefore, we need to ensure that maternal health is improved, and that's part of the Millennium Development Goals. How can we make sure that e-health and telemedicine and midwifery and so on and so forth are provided appropriately? Combat HIV, malaria and other diseases. This was a case in Andhra Pradesh when I was there on the ground where there was an outbreak of malaria. And there are a whole bunch of issues around drug distribution, drug storage, how people are tracked in terms of what drugs they've had. There are some drugs which has their efficacy only once in the lifetime. If you give them, then the person is not immune to the disease anymore. And then we need to have this sophisticated database to track how the medicines are being distributed. Similarly, the whole issue of health infrastructure, which is extremely challenged, which is why we have such high IMR and MMR rates. How can we make sure that we have basic things like ECG, ultrasound, so that antenatal and postnatal care can be delivered much more efficiently? And that also leads to concepts such as the micro PHC, again pretty similar to the Tatkal Kaksha we showed a little earlier, which is fitted in with low-cost ultrasounds, low-cost equipment which are HL7 compliant, which are EHR standard compliant, which can send off your information to perhaps a doctor in PGI Chandigarh who can then analyze and tell you what needs to be done, and you can be sitting in the back of beyond in Gumla or any other place in the middle of a forest. As long as you have this infrastructure, you've got access to some healthcare. And there are many benefits of micro PHC. What we figure out is the cost of this entire infrastructure is less than 20 lakhs. And at a cost of about 20 crores per district, with one micro PHC for 10 villages, one can actually cover the entire country. And I think that's an important step that one can take using the IT services that we're talking about. Then the issue of ensuring environmental sustainability. Again, there's a lot of role that IT services can play. Developing global partnerships. Again, as the IT Secretary of Delhi was mentioning, we can have social networks, and the same was mentioned by Mr. Shankar Agarwal, where these social networks can start providing these global linkages. Example of Peopling is already there. So basically, one has to leverage e-government, create enabling conditions, and achieve inclusive development, which will then ensure that we have the appropriate kind of services that can be delivered. Having said that, I think what we should keep in mind is there were 10 million PCs sold in last year, and I keep drilling this in every single talk because it's an issue of sustainability. What does 10 million PCs mean? Each of the PCs are consuming 20 watts of electricity. 10 million PCs implies 2 gigawatts of electricity. So how much exactly is 2 gigawatts? Is equal to 4 large nuclear power plants. So we need to set up 4 large nuclear power plants every year just to sustain all the PCLs we have done. And therefore, when you're talking about delivery of services through electronic mechanisms to the people in India, we need to make sure it's done in a sustainable fashion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jayjit, for putting this subject in perspective here. The teacher in Jayjit came out. He also teaches at IIT Delhi. In this perspective, 3 important things I would like to put before the panel. One is, when we talk about enhancing citizen services, one is access and availability, which is availability of information, proximity and accessibility of service delivery points, and different channels of service delivery, so that people have various options. So that's number one. Second is quality of service, which IT Secretary of Delhi government talked about in detail, how effective the service is, what is its quality, what is the speed and responsiveness of the department which is providing that service, and whether some kind of benchmarking has been done for that. So that's number 2. And number 3, the moment we move on this ladder, do we allow citizens to participate, to provide feedback, or to set priority for the service provider, that is the government? Lots of speakers, including Mr. Agarwal, talked about social networking or Web 2.0, and many municipal governments, including this city's MCD, and at least 10 or more of them from different parts of our country, have started using Facebook to get connected to the people. So very interesting responses we get from the departments. They say about the people who write or who give their messages, they say they are the local terrorists. They put electronic crap on our websites, and they do tear up my department every day. But that's one part of it. But on the other hand, that provides us a mechanism by which we can know exactly how we are delivering service, what's the quality, and whether it's up to the mark or not. Now, with these few words, I'll invite sir for you to. You can use the mic there, sir. And keeping in view the shortage of time, if you can stick to.
I don't plan to say anything. Yeah. Can you hear me? Because this mic works. I've been associated with the New Delhi Municipal Corporation about a dozen years ago, when we were taking the first fledgling steps in this direction of providing citizen-centric services. And more than me or anybody else, I think the government of Delhi, which is represented here by Mr. Prasad, they've done some very terrific things in this area, which just as he was saying nice things about Mr. Agarwal and Mr. Patru, I think a lot of nice things need to be said about him and his government. They've done a lot of things. As a citizen of Delhi, I can say that I had to get my plans for construction of my house passed, and it took exactly 1 week. And so that's one system that's already working. And this MCD Facebook thing also, I've also been browsing through it. It's quite a wonderful initiative. There are many. I think there are many initiatives happening, and many more, of course, should be happening. And I think people like you should be very much part of it. In fact, you should have been on this panel rather than some of us. That's all. I don't have anything more to say.
Thank you, Mr. Verma. And now I'll request Mr. Sameer Chaudhary to put before us his points. Yeah.
I am representing Power Grid. You must be already knowing that Power Grid Corporation is in the mission of setting up national power grid and maintenance and establishment of national power grid for the transmission of electric power across India. And power grid has got the unique identity of providing power, electric power transmission service, and along with that, a national long distance telecom service. That is a unique identity of power grid. Now, for the core business of power transmission, the subject of this enhancing citizen services is very much a focused area of power grid. The power situation even a decade ago, as you understand and as you know already, was very fragile and quite unreliable, in the sense there are off and on grid failures partially or totally, and that has been completely removed, and with the help of state-of-the-art ICT, we have got 5 load dispatch and control centers all over India. The National Capital Territory, it is in Delhi, and otherwise all other states there are 5 regional load control centers which provide very reliable control and operation of grid. This is on the core part. Power grid network carries almost more than 45% of the power generated in the country, and in very reliable and secure manner it establishes a stable operation of the grid. Other than this core area, there are 2 mention-worthy areas of enhancing citizen services. So power grid telecom service, which has got as on today more than 22,000 kilometers of telecom optical fiber network, which are put across on the already existing transmission lines. And there are 2 parts in it. One is this provides converged network for video, data, voice for the company itself, for the governance, e-governance in the company. And second is, which is very important, is that there is a national knowledge network. Just now you have heard that how to give the connectivity. There is a national knowledge network conceived by Government of India, for which power grid telecom network is being extensively used for connecting educational institutions, colleges, research institutes and universities, and this is growing, and this is being established in a progressive manner, and in a very short time we will see that the complete knowledge network is in operation with power grid telecom network as the main provider in that service. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll request Mr. Nitin Garg to speak, and thank you very much who have still decided to remain in the room. Yeah.
Thank you, Prakash ji, for giving an opportunity. Good evening to everybody on the present in the hall today. I represent IT hardware fraternity. I'm part of the IT hardware organization. So I'm, as a citizen of India, both the recipient of the service as also part of the solution in line with the technology towards the citizen service in the country. You talked about key points like responsiveness to citizen. You talked about quality of service to the citizen, and that takes me to the actual scenario that we are witnessing, where IT hardware organizations are playing a key role. Talking about the first point of responsiveness, which is bringing the government closer to the customer, to the citizen, in terms of delivering the services. The IT hardware is typically the first interface of aspiration of a citizen or the expectation of a citizen to convert that into digital form and then churning the data and putting it back, where the Delhi government has been playing a key role of making life simpler for the citizen. So I think with a lot of initiative at the state level across the country, the life of a citizen is taking prime importance, not in only talk, but also in actual delivery. To talk about the second point of responsiveness, there are a couple of initiatives which is being rolled out, which brings in the quality of services to the citizen at much higher level of late. We talk about the we can talk about the internal security initiatives under CCTNS. We talk about power sector APTRP initiative in the marketplace. We talk about Ministry of HRD initiative of IT penetration in the schools in the deeper location, for which all of us pay part of our earnings as contribution to the social cause. That I'm sure is going to bring the quality of services up, because we will have more people, more qualified people to deploy the hardware or the IT so-called solutions, wherein we may have IT hardware, but we do not have qualified people to deliver the services both in the private sector and in the government sector. I don't think so the hardware or technology would be of any use. So with penetration of PC at the ground level in schools, from grounds up, from the very ground level, we have people being very comfortable with technology. Surely at our age, we do see our children are much more technology savvy than what we are. We talk about, I was just sitting in the crowd and I just...
Trying to solve the 30% people problem who have very little or no problems. Consequently, what is required is, and what we have done, I'll mention in very, very short time because I'm on this side, is that every village, there are, a district is not more than 200 kilometers, none of the districts. There are 600 districts, and each district, none of the districts have more than 12,000 villages. CDOT has technology that will connect up to gigabit connectivity to every village. And for sure, we are going to deliver at least 10 Mbps to every panchayat, which will be scalable without any change to 100 Mbps. So just imagine that kind of connectivity. But that is only connectivity. Somebody will argue, how are you going to deliver the services to the poor people who have never seen a computer? So what we have done, the team of engineers have worked on that and come out with something called DRAX, Data Rural Application Exchange. And you don't have to have keyboard, you don't have to have mouse, you don't have to look at any screen. Just by showing a card, it will go automatically and surf the internet and get you your land record. Without any human intervention, will print it on the printer and show you on the TV screen that you have. And what we have done, we have patented just some technology of automatic surfing. Then we have gesture recognition technologies, where you can listen to a person, language independent. What is required at this point in time, just to sum up, is that we have to rethink the Indian intellect and Indian solutions manufactured in India for Indian problem have to come forward. That's all.
Thank you, Tyagi Sahab. We are all aware of what CDOT did, and the first rural exchange was created by CDOT. Now, if you have any question, the panel will be happy to take it. I know it's already 9:20. All of you must be feeling hungry. So one or two questions, if there are any. If not to us, to Mr. Savitur Prasad.
Thanks, Prakash. You have done a human service earlier in the government. And of course, I know it's basically what we have to see, that ultimately the technology should be able to benefit the citizens, whether in the villages or in the rural areas. And I must, of course, even Sunilji also, when he was in the MCD, and you also in the government, you have seen the government sector. My only thing is, of course, such forum which should be able to bring about the citizen satisfaction. The satisfaction in the citizen is still a lot to desire. We do discuss many things in the beautiful 5-star or in the other forums, but the fact remains, the satisfaction level in the citizen, that need to build up. We really have to put all our resources, whether it's in the terms of the intellectual or the technology, but that we need to achieve. And achieve with a level of confidence, and the citizen should be able to take pride in us. That is still lacking, that the technology has not been able to bring about that sort of a happiness or cheerfulness on the face of a common man. And they are using the technology, even the Facebook, or for that matter the Twitter, are more being used either for sarcasticism or for some sort of a gesture which is not very palatable to the normal governance. I don't know if the panel can throw out something which really can be good to all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Prasad. I think people are really hungry now, and Mr. Sahu, we can close it now. Thank you very much, the panelists, for your contribution. And the last point which you said, yes, that's very important, and feedback, especially from whom we are serving, is very important. And that is what in industry we do. And the same thing needs to be brought here. And it's not only the technology, but even simple infrastructure which is made available when people go to government offices, that also needs to be looked into. Now, with these few words, I thank my co-panelists and Mr. Sahu for giving us this opportunity. Thank you very much.